If you're serious about history as a living body of knowledge rather than a museum artifact, this topic matters. Before we go any further, make sure you're subscribed to Iron Age Instincts and, well, share this with someone who still believes modern insulation and electricity are prerequisites for winter survival. What we're covering today isn't theory, reenactment fluff, or romantic storytelling. These are hard-earned adaptations developed by people who lived entire lives under cold pressure, where mistakes meant death and efficiency meant continuity of culture. Stay with me for the next minute, because what you're about to hear reframes cold weather survival as a system, not a set of tricks. Cold has always been one of humanity's most ruthless adversaries. Long before modern heating, people in Iron Age Europe, the Eurasian steppe, the Arctic fringe and alpine zones didn't merely endure winter, they engineered their lives around it. Clothing, diet, shelter, daily movement, even social structure were shaped to minimize heat loss and maximize resilience. The mistake modern survivalists often make is isolating techniques instead of understanding the integrated system. Our ancestors didn't prepare for winter. They lived in permanent negotiation with it. The way ancient people used clothing as a thermal system rather than a fashion choice is the first lesson worth mastering. Iron Age and early medieval cold weather cultures layered with intent, not abundance. Linen or plant fibre layers managed moisture next to the skin, while wool trapped heat even when damp, something synthetics still struggle to replicate fully. Outer layers were often fur or tightly woven wool designed to block wind rather than insulate. The key principle here is moisture management. Sweat kills in cold environments, and ancestral peoples regulated exertion carefully. You can apply this today by rethinking modern cold exposure. Move slower, vent clothing deliberately, and prioritize fabrics that retain warmth when wet. If you've ever overheated while hiking in winter and then frozen during rest, you've experienced firsthand why this mattered. Shelter design is another area where ancestral thinking outperforms modern assumptions. Iron Age longhouses, pit houses, and turf structures weren't crude. They were thermally intelligent. By sinking floors below ground level, people used the earth as insulation. Roofs were steep enough to shed snow, yet thick enough to trap heat. Central hearths weren't just for warmth, but for drying clothes, preserving tools, and maintaining breathable airflow through smoke management. Applying this today doesn't require building a longhouse. It means understanding that low profiles, earth contact, and controlled airflow matter more than expensive materials. Even a temporary winter shelter benefits massively from ground insulation and reduced ceiling height. Dietary adaptation is one of the most overlooked survival skills, and it's where many modern people fail outright. Cold-adapted cultures consumed high-fat, high-protein diets seasonally because fat is fuel for thermoregulation. This wasn't indulgence, it was survival math. Animal fats, marrow, dairy and preserved meats sustained body heat and reduced caloric stress. Grain-heavy diets dominated warmer months, not deep winter. If you're training for cold exposure or winter preparedness today, your food planning should reflect this. Increase fats during cold periods, reduce simple carbohydrates, and understand that constant snacking was not ancestral behavior. Meals were deliberate and calorically dense. Movement patterns also tell us a lot about how people survived cold climates without exhaustion. Ancient groups avoided unnecessary travel in deep winter. When movement was required, it was purposeful and efficient. Snow was compacted into paths. Tools like skis and sleds reduced energy expenditure. Even footwear reflected this logic, favouring flexibility and insulation over rigid protection. Applying this today means respecting winter as a different operational environment. Plan routes carefully, cache supplies ahead of time, and stop treating cold travel like warm weather hiking with extra layers. Social structure played a role as well, and this is something modern individualism struggles to replicate. Cold-adapted societies shared labour, shared heat, and shared risk. Living communally reduced fuel use and increased survival odds. Elders passed down seasonal knowledge. Children learned cold tolerance gradually. Even sleep arrangements conserved warmth. While you may not be rebuilding a clan longhouse, you can apply this by planning winter resilience as a group. Shared shelters, rotating watch or fire duties, and collective food storage dramatically reduce individual strain. Cold tolerance itself was trained, not assumed. Ancestral people didn't rely on constant comfort. Gradual exposure, cold water immersion and seasonal adaptation hardened both body and mind. This wasn't bravado, it was calibration. You can apply this carefully today through controlled exposure, reducing reliance on constant indoor heating, and learning how your body responds to cold stress without panic. Mental discipline mattered as much as physical adaptation because fear accelerates energy loss. What ties all of this together is intent. Ancestral cold survival wasn't about conquering nature. It was about aligning with it. Every tool, habit and structure served multiple purposes. Nothing was wasted and nothing was accidental. That mindset is the real inheritance of the Grit Guild. Learn to see cold not as an enemy to be fought, but a condition to be managed intelligently. If this kind of deep, practical historical knowledge matters to you, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts. Share this with someone who takes survival and history seriously, and keep these lessons alive by applying them, not just watching them.